Have you ever spent years thinking you were doing everything right? Saving diligently, cutting back on small luxuries, staying out of debt, all with the dream of a peaceful, worry-free retirement? That was me. For decades, I skipped the fancy. Vacations. I drove the same car until it rattled. I packed my lunch to work while watching colleagues order takeout every day. I truly believed I was being smart, that I was building my safety net. But when my 60s arrived, and retirement was no longer this far-off milestone, but something staring me in the face, reality hit hard, and honestly, I wasn't ready. That's why I'm sitting here today with you, sharing my story on this channel, Marcus Smart channel. If you're new here, let me quickly tell you, this channel is a space I created for people just like you and me, folks navigating life after 60 with all its beauty, challenges, questions, and yes, sometimes regrets. We talk about health, mindset, finances, emotional wellness, and all those late-night worries that most people don't say out loud. So if you enjoy honest, down-to-earth conversations like this, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. I post videos like this regularly, and trust me, we're building a little community here where nobody feels alone. Now, back to what I came here to tell you today. Saving wasn't enough. The financial mistakes I made before retirement. This isn't a lecture. It's not a textbook list of do's and don'ts. It's just me, sharing the moments I wish I could go back and do differently. Let's start with the first big blind spot that caught me off guard. I underestimated how long I'd live. I know that sounds strange, right? But honestly, in my 40s and even my 50s, I didn't picture myself living past 70. Maybe it was denial. Maybe it was fear. Maybe it was just being too busy working, raising kids, paying bills to even think that far ahead. But here I am now, on the other side of 70, still waking up every morning, still wanting to enjoy life, still needing to pay for groceries, medication, home maintenance, and every little unexpected thing that pops up. The money I saved with so much discipline, it's going down faster than I ever imagined. And no one, absolutely no one, warned me that the scariest part of retirement wouldn't just be boredom. It would be outliving my savings. The second mistake? Not planning for healthcare costs. I thought, hey, I'll have Medicare. That should cover most things, right? Wrong. No. One told me how expensive dental work would become, or that hearing aids could cost thousands of dollars, or that one unexpected hospital stay could wipe out a good chunk of what I'd saved over a decade. Prescription drugs, physical therapy, things I never thought I'd need, now show up like uninvited guests in my monthly budget. And let's be real, at this age, your body has a schedule of its own. Even with the best lifestyle, there's no guarantee you won't end up with bills you never planned for. Looking back, I wish I had gotten supplemental insurance earlier. I wish I'd set aside a health emergency fund. I wish, well, a lot of things. The third mistake, and this one hurts to admit, I ignored inflation. I saved thinking about today's prices, not tomorrow's. When I started putting money away back in the 90s, a full grocery cart didn't make me sweat at checkout. Gas was cheaper. Electricity bills were lower. But today, I walk out of the store with 2 bags of groceries and feel like I spent half my retirement check. And it's not just groceries, property taxes, utility bills, even little things like shampoo or toothpaste. Everything costs more now. Social Security does what it can with small cost of living adjustments. But let's be honest, it's barely keeping up. I know this sounds a little heavy. And if you're sitting there nodding, thinking, yep, I'm seeing the same thing, you're not alone. That's why I'm sharing this. Because if I could go back and talk to my 50-year-old self, I'd shake him by the shoulders and say, start planning for the unexpected. Assume you'll live longer. Assume things will cost more. Protect yourself now, before it's too late. And if you're in your late 50s or early 60s watching this today, it's not too late for you to adjust. I know this is a lot to take in, and trust me, these are just the first few financial wake-up calls I've had to face. But I'm going to pause here, take a breath, because what comes next in my story might just surprise you. Stay with me. After I came to terms with the fact that my savings wouldn't stretch as far as I thought, there was another hard lesson waiting for me. I realized I had no real plan for how to manage my money during retirement. For years, I had focused on just one thing: save as much as I can. But I never thought about what would happen after the saving part was done. Got no strategy for withdrawals. No budget for how much I could safely spend each month. And worst of all, no idea how to make my money last 20, maybe even 30 years. So what did I do in those first few years after retiring? I spent like I was still working. Lunches out with friends, weekend trips with the grandkids, little home improvement projects that seemed harmless at the time. I told myself, I deserve this. I've worked hard my whole life. And while that's true, I didn't balance that mindset with the cold reality of my bank statements. The money was going out faster than it was coming in, and by the time I noticed, the damage was done. That brings me to my next big mistake. I waited too long to downsize our family home. The one with 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and a yard that felt like a full-time job to maintain became more of a financial burden than a comfort. The heating bills, the repairs, the property taxes, everything felt like a slow leak draining what little savings I had left. But emotionally, I wasn't ready to let go. I kept telling myself, what if the kids want to visit and stay over? What if I want to host Christmas dinner again this year? But deep down, I knew the house was too much. And every month I delayed selling was another month of unnecessary expenses, eating away at my retirement funds. Eventually, I made the tough choice to move into a smaller condo. And you know what? It wasn't as heartbreaking as I thought. Less cleaning, lower bills, and honestly, I felt lighter, like I could finally breathe again. Looking back, I wish I'd done it sooner. Another thing I wish I'd done? Diversify my income sources. For most of my working life, I kept all my retirement money in one big employer-sponsored retirement fund. It seemed safe. But when the market dipped, I felt it. Hard. No rental income, no small side gigs, no passive income streams. Just that one account, rising and falling with the stock market like a roller coaster I couldn't get off. I remember checking my balance one morning after a bad market week and feeling my stomach drop. All those years of saving, and in just a few days, thousands of dollars were gone. That's when it hit me. I had put all my eggs in one basket. And at this stage of life, that's a gamble I couldn't afford to make. Since then, I've started learning more about safer investments for retirees. A little in bonds, some in dividend-paying stocks, even a small emergency cash fund, just in case the market takes another tumble. Is it perfect? No. But at least now, I don't wake up in a cold sweat every time the stock market makes the evening news. And here's something I rarely hear people talk about. One of my biggest financial blind spots was not accounting for helping family members financially. You know how it goes. An adult child goes through a rough patch and needs help with rent. A grandchild needs help with college tuition. A sibling has a medical emergency. And every time I open my wallet, because how could I say no? That's what family does, right? But slowly, quietly, I became the family safety net, and while helping them made my heart feel full, it also made my savings feel dangerously empty. Now, I'm learning to set gentle but firm boundaries, to help in ways that don't jeopardize my own future, to remind myself that it's not selfish. It's survival, because the truth is, number one's going to rescue me if I run out of money, and I want to enjoy my retirement years, not spend them stressing over every unexpected expense. I know this is a lot to take in, and trust me, these lessons weren't easy to learn, but sharing them with you makes me hope that maybe, just maybe, you can avoid some of the same mistakes I made. Next, I want to tell you about the emotional toll these financial worries took on me, and how I started shifting my mindset. Because money problems after 60 aren't just about numbers. They're about peace of mind, about dignity, about feeling in control again. You know, looking back, the scariest part wasn't really about the numbers in my bank account. It was the fear of running out of money, the fear of losing control over my life, the fear of becoming a burden on my family, and deep down, the fear of losing my dignity. Because after 60, money doesn't just mean paying the bills. It means peace of mind. It means being able to make your own choices, to decide what you eat, where you live, how you spend your time, without feeling like you're trapped or at the mercy of someone else. I remember one afternoon, sitting alone at my kitchen table, surrounded by unopened bills, and I realized I had spent so much of my life worrying about saving enough that I never really learned how to think differently about money. So I made a decision. If I couldn't change the past, I could definitely change how I thought and how I acted moving forward. The first shift I made was letting go of the guilt and shame. I stopped beating myself up for the mistakes I'd made, because honestly, regret doesn't pay the electric bill. Action does. And the second big shift was realizing that at this age, I didn't need to chase big risky investments. I just needed consistent, reliable income streams and protection for what I already had. So here's what I did. First, I created what I now call my peace of mind fund. It wasn't huge, just enough to cover at least 3 to 6 months of basic living expenses. I put it in a high-yield savings account, somewhere safe, liquid, accessible. Just knowing that money was there gave me a sense of breathing room I hadn't felt in years. Next, I started looking at ways to create small streams of extra income without exhausting myself. I wasn't about to go back to a full-time job, but I realized there were things I could do, like offering part-time tutoring online, selling handmade crafts at local markets, or even renting out the spare room in my house for travelers through short-term rental apps. A little here, a little there, and it started to add up. Then I looked at my investments. Honestly, before this, I barely understood where my money was going. So I sat down with a financial advisor who specialized in retirees. We adjusted my portfolio to focus on lower risk, income-producing assets, like dividend-paying stocks and bonds. Nothing flashy. But consistent. Dependable. Because at this stage of life, it's not about getting rich quick. It's about preserving what you have and letting it grow safely. I also took advantage of senior discounts and benefits I hadn't even realized I was eligible for, from utility bill assistance programs to discounted prescription plans to free community resources like food banks and transportation services. Every little bit helped. And here's another big thing. I learned how to budget based on my real lifestyle now, not the one I had 20 years ago. I let go of the pressure to keep up with anyone else. I focused on experiences that filled my heart, not just activities that drained my wallet. Afternoons, At the park, free museum days. Simple home-cooked meals shared with friends. And honestly, I felt happier and more peaceful than I had in years. Because when you shift your mindset from what did I lose to what can I build from here, something amazing happens. You start taking back control. You start making decisions from a place of calm, not panic. And most importantly, you start realizing that your value, your dignity, was never tied to a dollar amount in the first place. It's about how you live, how you love, and how you show up for yourself every single day. In just a moment, I'll share with you some specific tools and resources that helped me stay on track and protect my future. Because making peace with your finances isn't just possible, it's powerful. Let's keep going. All right, so now that we've talked about mindset shifts and how I started taking back control of my financial life, let's get into the really practical stuff. Because motivation is great, but we also need tools. First, if you haven't already, sit down and track every single expense you have for at least 1 month. I know, it sounds boring, but trust me, when I finally did this, I was shocked at where my money was going. Little things, like subscription services I hadn't used in months. Daily coffee runs that added up to over $100 a month. Or even duplicate insurance policies I didn't realize I had. Once I had a clear picture, I could start making small but powerful adjustments. Next, I opened a cash envelope system. You don't need a fancy app for this. Just grab a few envelopes. Write categories like groceries, entertainment, and medical, and put the budgeted cash inside at the start of each month. When the envelope is empty, that's it. It's a simple trick, but it made me think twice before overspending. Another thing that made a big difference was setting up automatic transfers into my savings account right after each small paycheck or side income came in, even if it was just $20 at a time. Over a few months, that grew faster than I expected. And I'll tell you, watching that balance increase gave me a sense of pride I hadn't felt in years. For those of you who have a little extra saved but don't want the risk of the stock market, I highly recommend looking into certificates of deposit, CDs, with higher interest rates for seniors, or Treasury I-bonds that protect you against inflation. They won't make you rich overnight, but they're safe, and they grow. Also, don't forget to review your insurance policies. Health, long-term care, even home and auto. I found that by shopping around and bundling certain plans, I saved hundreds of dollars a year without sacrificing coverage. Another thing I did, which I know can feel scary at first, was sitting down with my adult children and having an open conversation about my financial situation. It wasn't about asking them for help. It was about setting expectations so that if anything happened to me, they wouldn't be caught off guard. That conversation brought us closer, and honestly, it lifted a huge weight off my shoulders. And finally, the most important step of all, I gave myself permission to enjoy my life. To go out for lunch with friends once in a while, to buy that used guitar I'd always wanted to learn, to take short weekend trips to places I'd always dreamed of visiting. Because at the end of the day, money is just a tool to help you create the kind of life you want, with dignity, freedom, and peace. So if you're watching this right now, and you're feeling that familiar knot of anxiety in your stomach, please remember this. It's never too late. It's never too late to take control, to make small, smart changes, and to build a future that feels safe, hopeful, and full of joy. And if you found even one helpful idea in this video today, I'd love for you to leave a comment below. Tell me, what's one small financial habit you're going to start today? And of course, if you want more videos like this, full of real talk, life lessons, and practical tips for living well. After 60, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to Marcus Smart channel, and share this video with a friend who might need it, because we're all in this together. Here's to taking back control and living the life you deserve. Thanks for being here, and I'll see you in the next video.